I'm 57. I've saved for retirement, but not nearly as much as I wish I had. So instead of paying a financial advisor $300 an hour, I did something a little different. I asked ChatGPT to build me a plan to boost my retirement income. And by the end of this video, you're going to know some things that surprised me. Like why the 4% rule, the one every retirement article tells you to trust, might already be outdated for people our age. Whether dividend stocks can actually replace a paycheck, or if that's just a nice story. Why delaying Social Security by just a few years could be worth more than any stock pick you'll ever make. And the one thing ChatGPT got wrong in my numbers, a mistake that could have cost me tens of thousands of dollars if I hadn't caught it. Stick around, because the last part is the one nobody talks about. Here's my actual situation, because I think specifics matter more than vague advice. I have $410,000 in my 401k, $60,000 in a regular brokerage account. My house is paid off. If I take Social Security at 62, I get about $1,750 a month. If I wait until 67, that jumps to $2,500. If I wait all the way to 70, it's $3,100. My goal is $5,000 a month in retirement. Right now, realistically, I'm sitting closer to $3,200. That's a gap of about $1,800 a month, every month for the rest of my life. So I opened ChatGPT and asked it one direct question. Given my numbers, what specific steps would increase my retirement income? No hand-holding, no 50 follow-up questions. I wanted to see what a normal person asking a normal question would actually get back. The first thing it told me was the classic rule of thumb. Withdraw 4% of your portfolio every year, and it should last you 30 years. Simple enough. But here's the catch. ChatGPT itself pointed out that a lot of planners in 2026 have quietly lowered that number to closer to 3.3 to 3.5% because of inflation and how unpredictable the markets have been. If I need $60,000 a year and I'm using the safer 4% number, I'd need about 1.5 million saved. I have $470,000 combined. That's a massive gap, not a rounding error. So the safe rule everyone quotes turned out to be the first place where the math got uncomfortable. Next, it suggested building a dividend income portfolio, funds and well-known dividend-paying companies yielding somewhere around 3 to 5%. I ran the math. To generate $24,000 a year at 4.5%, I'd need about $533,000. I'm close, but not quite there. And it sounds appealing until you remember dividends aren't guaranteed. Companies cut them in rough years. And if the market drops 20%, your dividend check might stay the same, but watching $100,000 of your net worth disappear on a screen is a very different experience than a spreadsheet makes it look. ChatGPT was upfront about that risk when I pushed back. It didn't just sell me the dream. Third idea, bonds and treasury securities, yielding around 4 to 5.5%. Steadier, less dramatic than stocks, but sensitive to interest rates. If rates rise again, bond prices can fall, and if you need to sell early, you eat that loss. Then it brought up real estate, specifically REITs, and even owning a rental property outright, which it said could bring in $1,500 a month net in an average U.S. city. I asked the obvious question, what if I don't want to be fixing toilets at 65? It suggested hiring a property manager for 8 to 10% of the rent, which honestly is a fair trade if it means keeping the income without the headache. This next part is the answer that actually changed how I think about my plan. Delaying Social Security from 62 to 70 means the difference between $1,750 and $3,100 a month. That's $1,350 more every single month for the rest of my life. Over 20 years, that's over $300,000 in additional income, and it's guaranteed inflation-adjusted income. No stock pick does that. But here's what impressed me. It didn't just say, wait, it built out the trade-off. It said if I delay 3 years, I'd need to pull roughly $180,000 from savings to cover that gap, leaving me with less of a cushion. It even said in plain language that this is mathematically favorable, but only if I expect to live past my early 80s. That's not a lazy answer. That's an actual trade off, explained honestly. The fifth suggestion was about the order you withdraw money in retirement: brokerage accounts first, then 401k and traditional IRA, and save the Roth IRA for last, doing Roth conversions in low income years. When I asked how much that's actually worth, the estimate came back at $30,000 to $50,000 saved in taxes over 20 years. That's not a small tip. That's a down payment on a car, just from doing withdrawals in the right order. Now, here's the part one promised you at the start. When I double-checked one of the longer-term projections, I found an error. The plan hadn't fully accounted for inflation over a 20-year stretch, which made one scenario look better than it actually was. If I'd taken that number at face value without checking it, I could have planned around a figure that was off by tens of thousands of dollars. That's the real lesson here. ChatGPT doesn't know your health, your family, your fears, or the version of retirement you actually want. It can't feel nervous about a market drop the way you do at 2 a.m., and it can make mistakes with confidence, which is almost more dangerous than making no suggestion at all. This isn't a reason to ignore it. It's a reason to treat it like a very smart, very fast first draft, not the final word. So here's where I landed. ChatGPT gave me 5 real usable ideas: the 4% rule and why it's shifting, dividend income, real estate, the enormous value of delaying Social Security, and a smarter tax withdrawal order. None of that is magic, but it gave me a starting point that would have taken me weeks of reading to piece together on my own, for free, in about 10 minutes. The real skill isn't asking ChatGPT for a plan. It's asking it the right follow-up questions, and then checking its work. If you're 55 or older, try this yourself. Open any AI chatbot and ask it, "I'm this age, I have this much saved in these accounts, my monthly expenses are this much. What specific steps would increase my retirement income and account for taxes, inflation, and risk?" Then double-check every number it gives you. And if something sounds too good to be true, take it to a real professional before you act on it. If you want me to run this experiment again with a different question, maybe healthcare costs or the best age to downsize your home, tell me in the comments. And subscribe, because this channel is about finding real ways forward, not just worrying about the future. I'll see you in the next one.